Auburn and Alabama, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ABC. The playoff implications, Alabama's not dead yet. I think a lot of people are kind of counting them out right now. I don't think it's over for the Crimson Tide. Now, of course, they're right now outside of the current 12-team field.
We think.
If they win this game and get a little bit of help, like we've talked about already for plenty of these games already, we were saying, okay, if this team loses, it's Alabama. Like, what's the conversation between them and Alabama? Alabama's not dead yet, right? They need some help a little bit, but they're not dead yet. They got to beat Auburn as well, who just took down A&M in a awesome game, a quadruple overtime game. If they beat Auburn, though, then all of a sudden they turn their attention, hope maybe one or two slip-ups in the top 12 in order for them to get into the college football playoff. So I know a lot of people are counting them out already. I don't think it's over yet. I think it's kind of very dangerous to count out a team with how crazy the season has been. Do you think the Crimson Tide are out now, or do you think they're still alive?
No, they're not out of it. And it's because of all of the other chaos, like with Ole Miss losing and everything else that happened inside the top 20. They are by no means out of it. Now, I can't guarantee that they're in it. They may be the most hotly debated team come selection time when we get to that point, and if they are to beat Auburn. I mean, that's first of all, you got to take care of this week's task first, because we saw them maybe look ahead of it last week against Oklahoma. And look, for as much as we want to be right about every single game here, we're not going to be. Something wacky is going to happen in this mix of these 11 games. And you know what, Alabama, I don't know if we'll see if they learned their lesson from last week, but that was a flat performance. And again, it shows you got to respect your opponents this time of year. Anybody can beat you.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's a rivalry game as well, and there's been a lot of smack talk already, as Sycamore Brewing has already pointed out, or Sycamore Savage, in our chat has pointed out already. I think one of the linebackers for Auburn said that Ryan Williams is like whatever, like he's not even that great of a player. It's like, it's a lot to say about a guy who's been really good this year, and I just say, it's kind of smart by him to say that when he's like, I don't have to cover him. My corners are going to cover him. So if he does kill us, I could at least say, I didn't cover him.
They're not putting me on him. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's good. And the Iron Bowl always gets weird. No matter how good or how bad these teams are, it always gets weird. You remember last year when Jalen Morrell with the fourth and goal from like a 30-yard line,
fourth and 31. Yep.
And he got the miracle touchdown Isaiah Bond. It always gets weird in the Iron Bowl. Kick six, obviously, as well. So it should be hopefully another amazing game in this one. You have the Auburn offense in this game, though, Dolan. What should we be looking out for when the Tigers have the ball?
Okay, so certainly I like the fact that last week Peyton Thorne had a good day throwing to Cam Coleman, throwing to Keandre Lambert-Smith and all that, right? But here's the reality with the Auburn Tigers. They want to run the football, and Jarquez Hunter is on an absolute heater. Okay, his last 4 games, 560 rushing yards, 86.7 rushing grade, 7.3 yards per attempt, and second in the Power 4 behind R.J. Harvey with 21 explosive runs. Jarquez Hunter running through people and making big plays is where this offense starts, right? And let's be real about something here. Alabama got run all over by Oklahoma last week by a true freshman tailback and Jackson Arnold, right? So it's not like they're invulnerable in the run game. And now Deontay Lawson, the star linebacker who had the 3rd highest run defense grade on their team, is out for the season. So now we're replacing maybe one of our best run defenders in our front 7. We're playing a team who wants to run the football. We gave up 255 rushing yards a season high last week, and in the last 2 meetings against Auburn, Alabama's given up 611 rushing yards. If you think Auburn doesn't want to come out and run it down Alabama's throat in this game, you're kidding yourself, because there's too many things that say they should still do it. And again, did they win the game in part, very much in part because of Peyton Thorne and the receivers? Sure, but that's not the wheelhouse. Auburn wants to run. They want to stop the run. They want to be the more physical team. I think if they're going to win this game, they got to continue on this hot streak that Jarquez Hunter is on. And they have every reason to believe right now, especially after watching last week's tape and what Oklahoma did, they have every reason to believe they could still run the ball on the Crimson Tide.
Yeah, and really, Dawn, Alabama hopes they can run the ball on the Auburn Tigers here, because really the match to watch on the other side of the ball is, can Auburn force Jalen Morrell to win as a pure drop-back passer? Alabama had its worst offensive performance in over 20 years against Oklahoma this past weekend. They scored just 3 points on the Sooners, which is tied for their fewest in a game since 2000. So it's been a very long time, almost 25 years, since Alabama scored that few points, scored fewer points in a game. I believe scored 3 points in a 2004, 2003 game or something like that.
Was that the game you mentioned against Nick Saban?
Against Lou Holtz. The Nick Saban one was the biggest blowout in the regular season where they lost by, and they lost by 21, obviously, to Oklahoma. Oklahoma, how they beat Alabama and how they just shut down that Alabama offense, they took away the ground game. They only allowed 75 total rushing yards from Alabama in that game and 2.6 yards per carry. Each of those figures are the lowest for Alabama all year, and the 2.6 yards per carry is the worst for Alabama over the last 2 years for the Crimson Tide as well. Jalen Milroe had only 12 rushing yards on 14 carries, forcing him to win in drop-back situations. And not only could they not do that, they had their worst EPA per pass performance of the PFF college era. So that's a big, big problem. And Dawn, if you take away his legs, that's the recipe for success for defenses. Look at this. Jalen Milroe's fewest rushing yards in a game this year. Oklahoma, 12 yards. Vanderbilt, 20 yards. Tennessee, 34 yards. You know what all three games have in common right there?
They lost.
Those are the only three losses for Alabama this year. So the key is take away Milroe's legs, and you have a great chance at winning this game. And I will say, Auburn's run D has been the team's biggest strength this year. Right now, they're 5th in yards per carry allowed in the country with 3.9. They're 10th in run defense grade with a 92 defensive grade on run plays. They've had some issues, though, with mobile quarterbacks. They've allowed 3 opposing quarterbacks to run for 75 or more yards on them, and Taylor Green, Marcel Reed, and Michael Hawkins Jr. If they can shore that up against Jalen Milroe, Auburn can absolutely pull off the upset in this game and go bowling as well. I know we talk a lot about how important this game is for Alabama's playoff hopes. Auburn needs to win this game to go bowling as well, which is very important for them as well. So taking away Milroe's legs, you can see right there, his worst rushing performances of the season coincided with Alabama's 3 losses of the season. That's no coincidence. You take away his legs, it's a major part of this offense.
And I think philosophically, Brent Venables went about it the right way last week because, okay, the 3 guys in the backfield, Milroe, Cam Miller, Justice Haynes, all right, all his runners. Who are you most afraid of?
Cam Milroe.
Right.
Yeah.
Take away the one you're afraid of, and Oklahoma wasn't afraid of the other 2 because they're good backs, but they're not, 2 of the elite backs in the country. They're not Ashton Ginty and some of these other guys that we talk about. If you make Milroe distribute the football, whether it be in the run game or in the passing game, obviously, and especially as long as you prevent those home run balls and deep shots that we've talked about, what is it? Screw it. Ryan Williams is down there somewhere. As long as you prevent those balls, which they completed one last week, and then the penalty took it away and all of that. But, yeah, no, I'm with you. I think if you take away Milroe's feet and you make him play a traditional brand of quarterback, there are some issues that still pop up there.
So, Dawn, ultimately, in a game that Alabama needs to win to keep their slim but still alive, playoff hopes alive, will they win this game? Or will Auburn win this game and go bowling?
Can I rewind to last year's game for a minute?
Yeah.
Okay. Auburn completed only 5 passes in that whole game last year.
That's insane. I did not know that.
Oh, yeah. Peyton Thorne only completed 5 passes in that game. All right. Dallas Turner and Chris Braswell had 16 pressures together in that game. They were the 2 best players on the field. They just took the game over. Okay. You had the Hail Mary, right? Jalen Milroe, Isaiah Bond, right? Mm-hmm. Jermaine Burton was their leading receiver in that game. Alabama. Nick Saban was the head coach, right? But here's the thing about all those guys I just mentioned. We still have Milroe, okay? Saban's gone. Bond is gone. Burton's gone. Turner's gone. Braswell's gone. And Milroe remains with not the same Alabama team. And Auburn only lost essentially because of a 4th and 31 Hail Mary, right? The last time Auburn won in Tuscaloosa, Cam Newton was their quarterback.
Legendary game. That was his Heisman game,
24-point comeback, right?
Yeah.
And that game ended 28-27, right? I don't like where Alabama's going right now. Give me Auburn 28-27, same score as Cam Newton beat him with.
Wow. So you're saying Peyton Thorne Heisman game here?
Well, he's making a case. He's making a late push, we'll call it. I will take the Tigers. I like their ability to run the ball. I actually really like their run defense. I thought outside of the Reed scrambles, they did a nice job in the design game last week. They've done the last 2 years. They've run the ball well in Alabama, and I don't think this Alabama defense is nearly as good as the last 2 that we've seen in these last 2 games. Especially the Lawson injury hurts. Bad. Yeah. Really bad. He's a monster in the run game. 2 elite linebackers, but Lawson's the one better in the run game between him and Jahad Campbell. I'm going to take Auburn in the upset. They will win for the first time in Tuscaloosa since 2010.
Listen, our social media director, Zach Tantillo, who is an Auburn alum, obviously a massive Auburn fan as well, he's been coming at you, Dolan, for saying that you've been too harsh on his Auburn Tigers this year. I think you made up for it right here by picking Auburn to win the Iron Bowl. I think you're all good between you and Zach right now.
Well, all they have to do now is not let me down.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll see. I am going with Alabama in this game, and I'm going with Alabama pretty convincingly. I have Alabama winning this one 34-20. I think Milroe will bounce back against Auburn. I don't think the run D is excellent. We talked about that already. It's not as good as Oklahoma's, though. And I don't think that, they'll be completely shut down like they were against Oklahoma. And I think there's an avenue as well for Milroe to win a little bit down the field with Ryan. Also, you're talking back to Ryan Williams now. Like, there is a little added chip on the shoulder for that superstar receiver they have in Ryan Williams. So they'll do that. And I think the Alabama defense will do enough against Auburn's offense to hold them to only 20 points in this one. So I think Alabama's going to win the Iron Bowl, 34-20. You obviously disagree with me. And obviously, if they lose that game, Dolan, they're out. They're out of the college football playoff.
Certainly. Yeah,
they're definitely out. They're already out of the playoff picture right now. And if they lose this game, they're obviously even further out. But I do think Alabama stays alive in the playoff race with a win over Auburn. Hey, thanks for watching another episode of the PFF College Football Show. Please make sure you guys subscribe to the channel.
Also, subscribe to PFF Plus at subscribe.pff.com for all of the same data and grades that we use in our show, plus fantasy tools, betting tools, and our mock draft simulator.